Today, we cover these three modules. Let's start the first one, the module number 4 for the soil health. This is the outline. We will cover what is soil and what is healthy and fertile soil, and the soil parameters as the effective indicators of soil health. We'll talk about the Newfoundland soils and the practice to improve soil health. The soil component. You may have to get a sense of this, the concept in Sean's presentation. It is basically the soil is life. The soil have two phases, the porous phase and also the solid phase. The soil needs the air to breathe and also near the water to transport the nutrient, to supply the nutrient to the plant. And the soil has the minerals, which is the nutrient, mainly the nutrient part, and organic matter holds the soil organisms either decompose or the live microorganisms. Normally, we can roughly divide it by the porous phase account 50%, with around air occupied 25% and water 25%. And also roughly for the solid phase on the other half, normally we have around 45% of minerals and 5% organic matter. So this gives us, there's basically a general sense what is the soil and what its soil is composed of. The soil health, basically the soil we treat soil is an ecosystem. Soil health is defined as the continued capacity of a soil to function as a vital living ecosystem that sustains plant, animals, and humans. In the soil ecosystem, most of the time, we cannot see it from our naked eyes, but when we open the soil profile, the large chunk, the big road, like the dead road, or the chunks, the bigger one, or the road system, and also there's a lot of living organisms, the microbes, and in the soil ecosystem. Something we really cannot see in naked eyes, like the bacteria, fungi, nematodes, and earthworm. Yes, sometimes they open, like when I go fishing, I go to the soil and catch the earthworm. And really, the soil is life. It is a living ecosystem and doing a lot of work underneath our feet to support the plant growth and also support the animal and human life. So what is healthy and fertile soil? We have the basic concept about the soil. And for healthy and fertile soil, we are looking at it can supply the plant nutrients in the right quantity and forms. It's supported by the three pillars. The soil physics, dealing with the water, air, texture, structure. This part, during the last session, and Sean has gave a very detailed work, and Jinsei as well have the soil structure and the slide showed to us, and a lot of the soil physics work. And also there's soil chemistry. It's dealing with the nutrients and the nutrient interactions. The soil biology, talking about the fauna, flora, and microorganisms. The soil biology might be only occupied around 5% in the volume of the soil, but it did the tremendous work and is a critical part for the soil as alive and living organisms. And it's when we talking about the soil, we need a soil is biologically active with improved structure and enhanced nutrient availability. The measurement of soil health. So we get a general concept. So we need a healthy soil, but how to quantify the measurement and to give these parameters. When the parameters measured in the lab, it tells us, so we need 30 kind of the number range to be a good soil. The measurement includes the pH nutrients, soil organic matter, the total carbon, total nitrogen, surface and subsurface hardness, and soil texture, water holding capacity. And this one mainly dealing with the soil physics, if we can classify. The soil respiration autoclave citrate extractable protein. That's when we're talking about always, we know the nitrogen is a big part in the soil. And nitrogen, this is dealing with the fraction of the protein for the nitrogen cycle. A soluble salts, bulk density, stone content, and also the wet aggregate stability. So in this, the measurements, the last session, we have talked about a lot of the soil physics, and Sean gave the very detailed, like the structure, hardness, texture, water holding capacity, and the stone content. So today, we will talk about the more general in soil chemistry, and also there's two like ACE proteins and wet aggregate stability. It's not common measurement in the lab, but we will get a little bit sense in the next few slides. The autoclave citrate extractable protein. This is a picture, that's autoclave. The autoclave and our downstairs animal lab, we have the bigger autoclave. Basically, the autoclave is you put the sample in the autoclave, increase the temperature, and under the higher pressure to facilitate the extraction process. So the ACE protein is the largest pool of the organically bound nitrogen in the soil. Again, so when we're talking about the soil, talking about the agriculture, and the nitrogen is always come the number one nutrient. It's an indicator of the fraction of the soil organic matter pool. It's an indicator of soil biological and chemical quality. It's an indicator of overall soil health status. For the measurement, this is the method developed by the Cornell University's Soil Health Laboratory. They use 3 grams of soil put in the 24 ml sodium nitrate and autoclaved for 30 minutes at 121 degrees under the 15 psi pressure. So this is the number I put here. That's something like when they have the methodology, we use exactly at the similar condition, same time, temperature, pressure. So then the lab analyze the number is compatible with other labs, with other soil health measurement. So you can compare, then later on the number tell us, so what's this number range is good as the soil health, so across the lab can compare the result. The aggregate, when we see the soil, normally we see the chunks, and some of the big chunks and actually consists of the fine particles, either fine particularly organic matter or the coarse particularly organic matter, and the clay minerals and the micro aggregate, plus the fresh residue, like the plant root, the material, flesh residue, the manure compost. So all these fine parts plus the residues form together as a chunk. We gave the scientific word macro aggregate. This is the formation. And for the measurement, so when we talk about the soil health, so we need to know the wet aggregate stability, how to measure it. So this is the methodology used in the lab. So we get the soil, we quartering the soil, take the across the pie together and put a set of with different openings of the sieves. So these sieves, like each pie will have 1, 2, 3, 4, a different opening of the sieves, and then soak in the water. Again, we use the clock to control exactly. We put 5 minutes. So then the result can be compared across the lab. So basically the stroke. So there's the motor underneath to bring the set of sieves merge into the water and come up. And we use the clock control the 5 minutes, then come out from each sieve. We put in the glass jar and transfer the glass jar, and then to measure like exactly in the different openings, either the big chunks or smaller chunks, what's the percentage? And if everything is disappeared like the sand particles, that means you don't have much aggregate stability. If after soaked with water, we still have quite a number of the aggregate still stay on the top of the sieves, that means we have the good aggregate stability. Thinking about in the field, like we always have the cycle, the rainfall, the snowfall, the dry cycle, and the frozen cycle. So this cycle, if our soil in the field still can tolerate the rainfall or the snow, so we have the good aggregate stability. So that's good for the agriculture. It's good for your crop. So the agricultural practice, we can talk about the rotation, talk about either the fertilization or put the manuring, compost, and also the tillage. So these all the different agricultural practice will affect the soil aggregation. So when you till the soil, you could break part of the chunks. And the soil aggregation will affect the nitrogen and phosphorus loss. Even sometimes we do need to plow the land and either like to prepare, cultivate the land for the planting, for the seeding, for the fertilizing. And our goal is to reserve the nitrogen, phosphorus, nutrient within the soil supply for the plant. But still, and always have the nitrogen, phosphorus loss to the water system. And this is considered as the negative impact of the environment. So we talk about this circle, we talk about the soil aggregation stability. Our goal is to preserve more nutrients in the land instead of leaching out to the environment. The nitrogen phosphorus in soil and waterways, like in the farmland, in the cropland, so we want to keep the nutrient as much as possible in the field for the plant nutrition part. And we don't want the nutrient, we spend the money, even purchase the fertilizer, we put the land and the nutrient leach to the waterways. And for the farmers, And myself, I'm waste the money. And also for the environment, it's not good. We have talked a lot about we hear about in the news, like the eutrophication, the pond, and in the river, the fish dead. And that's the nutrient toxicity. And we want to control and don't want the nutrient to go to the water system. And the soil in our province, in Newfoundland, most of the soil is shallow and stony. It's a typical soil in the province and occupies the large and like the major agricultural land. That's the picture was taken in the woods, and it's a typical soil across the island. And we can see the profile of quite a number of the stones, like the soil profile, like the soil is kind of like is shallower, and we have a lot of like the stone rock. That's the way when we have the farm, repair the farmland, and that's what you need the stone picker. And also we have still have a small area of the good soil. This picture was taken in the Woodale behind the tree nursery area. And basically through the color you can see and the fertile soil. If you take hold a grab of the soil, you smell like the nice the soil earth smell. And we do have a bit of the good soil. There's the land suitability rating. That's for the climate change scenario for the 2040s to the 2069. So basically, we are looking at like after 30 years, whether or not the land, so we know a lot about the climate change. In the 20, 30 years, we may get a higher temperature. Like the temperature might be average increased like 2 to 3 degrees. And also the growing season might extend for 2 weeks. The longer the growing season is better for the crop, for the agriculture. But for the land suitability, like in this case, for the model prediction, even after 30 years, the land would not get much improved. So we have the land suitability rating system. That's the federal government use the system across Canada. So every province will use the same ruler to measure like how good our soil, and consider the class 1, 2, 3 as suitable for continued crop. And the class 4, 5, 6, 7, basically the number is higher is less suitable. Like normally class 6, class 7 is not suitable for the crop. Either the topography, either the rockiness, either the shallower and the soils. And if we look at this color, we look at the light color, 1, 2, 3, this light is white, the light yellow, a little bit dark yellow. So these 3 colors and not much showed on the island. That means our land, even after 30 years, even the climate change is a favor for the agriculture, but the land still not much ready for the continuous cropping. And soil pH, this is considered as the master parameter to measure the soil fertility. It's a measure of acidity or the alkalinity. It controls plant nutrient availability, the fertilizer efficiency. If we put the soil pH, if we have the soil pH lower pH 4.5 compared the soil pH 5.5, the fertilizer efficiency increased at the higher pH. So that means The soil pH controls the fertilizer efficiency. If at the very low soil pH, we threw the fertilizer, just waste the money because the crop cannot use it. There's the picture. I favored the picture for the wheat field. And on the left side, the soil pH at 4, and the right side, and the soil pH at 6, at the same management. I mean, the same fertilization, cultivation, same crop, same variety, and show the different, very different result because the soil pH controls the nutrient availability. The acidic soil is the natural soil in Newfoundland. And this is from our lab analyzed 1,013 soil samples last year. And we put in the chart, it shows the most of the soil, the pH is low, it's below the 6, pH 6. You can say mine is below the 5, 5.1 to 5.5, and 5.6 to 6. And less likely the sample is in the higher pH level. So acidic pH, acidic soil is the natural soil. That's basically the soil genesis and formation. And Sean has talked a lot about, so that Mother Nature gave us. And acidic soil need lime. We need the limestone, increase the soil pH. That's why our provincial government have the limestone program. The liming will reduce the aluminum and manganese toxicity and increase nutrient availability and fertilizer efficiency, promote the soil microactivity, and improve the soil structure. A failure to lime acidic soil, first you reduce your crop yield, that we don't want to say it as a farmer, and waste the fertilizer dollars. You put the fertilizer through the land, pH is low, and the crop won't be able to use it. So this the chart is my favorite chart. I even couldn't find out the source. This could be over like 100 years, 1,000 researchers, and do the like the research work and in the field calibration, and shows the different and the element, the different element, NPK, sulfur, calcium, magnesium, pH, a different element in the different pH range. But all of these elements at the very low pH level, the nutrient is not available for the crop. That's it at the point. So when pH increases to the neutral level around 6.5, so all these elements show the higher efficiency to the crops. So we take this chart as granted, and it showed a lot of information. The limestone, the pH is around 6, moisture less than 10%, particle size, and through 100% goes through the 4 mm sieves, and 40% should go to 0.15 milliliter sieves. The total neutralizing power should be bigger than 85. This is the parameter we introduced, we put in the for the tender requirement. We required the limestone supply to the private agricultural farms should meet these requirements. The particle size is kind of critical. Why we need 100% go to the very fine sieves? Because the particle, like if you put a chunk of limestone, you put it into the land, after a couple of years, you still see a chunk. So we need to get the powder, and it's easier for the soil and the microorganisms to work, so then can effectively adjust, increase the soil pH. The limestone and land application. This is the field in the Cormac area. After the land clearing and the first, they have to order the limestone in the field and the spread in the field. So that's just the pH first. Then we talk about the cultivation. because the soil pH, if we don't adjust the soil pH, and later on the agriculture, all the agricultural practice basically just waste our time and money. That picture was taken on the environmental farm here in St. John's. That's the limestone spreader, like the limestone spreads to the field. So because of the very fine particles, we always have to consider if it's a windy day, we don't spread the limestone. And we wait for the calm day, and if a bit of mist day, a little bit mist, that would be the fine, it's a good time. And soil organic matter is another master parameter, is a vital component of healthy soil. And if we break down the soil organic matters, it's composed of the living organisms. It only occupy less than 5%, considering the volume, and the fresh residues less than around 10%, the decomposing organic matter. And the stabilized organic matter, each one occupies around 35%. That's most of the component of the organic matter. So in the soil, organic matter in the soil, and it can break down to like the accelerates the nutrient decompose, the nutrient release, and the crop residue and animal manure, this kind of the animal farm, you add the organic matter, and the organic matter break down and supply the plant growth. It benefits the soil physical, chemical, biological properties. The land clearing, last time Sean talked a lot about this one. I just here want to show the picture, like for soil fertility viewpoint. We want as much as the organic matter live on the ground. This tractor, you hold the stuff, food, shake, leave the soil on the ground. This picture just took a couple of weeks ago, just from the close by the agricultural building. They were like the Guoshu highway, just open the ground, and they cleared the land, prepared the roundabout. There was 2 roundabouts around the Guoshu highway, around the Brookfield Road. And this land clearing, when they cut the steel, and everyone know that. And it's so valuable for the soil. They reserve pile the soil on the edge. So this one, the soil will be used for the either like the other, like the client can use it, like the pile of the soil first. So after land clearing, collect the soil, then you open the ground to the rock, prepare the highway base, because soil is a treasure. And like a truckload here in St. John's, $350. The compost is dark brown to black, pH 6.8. Moisture content around 50%, naturally available in the first year is around 10%. So the compost rate for the agriculture, and normally the rate should be below the 50 dry tons per acre, which is 1 inch of the layer. The composting, we want to do the composting right, and if not doing in the right way, the compost could turn to a disaster. Like the picture here shows the people like all wear the mask. It's not the COVID-19. You see the year 2009, the well before 10 years before the COVID-19, but they need the mask because the compost caused the big and disturbing situation for their neighboring. We want the composting to do in the right way. And this is the composting with the gold cover system. Basically, the gold cover can have the breeze and not allow the water, rainwater come into the compost pile, but allow the air exchange. The gold cover probably, and we have the clothes purchase the rain gear is a gold cover material with a gold class material, basically allowed the air to go through. And this is the gold cover, like cover it brick. And underneath you see there's a tunnel. There's through you have the air. You can push the air and inject the air in when the pile and here, because the compost, the like compost system, like open compost, they need the air to feed the microorganism, and also have the drainage. If there is excess water, you can drain away instead of punch it on the surface to cause the like a mess. There's a wood ash in the Cornerbrook. We know we have a big mill, and the pH is around 10. It's equivalent limestone 43%. It have the high potassium, increased moisture holding capacity. And we have a farm in the West Coast over the last 2 or 3 years is doing the pilot project for the wood ash soil amendment. So the healthy soil is for sustainable agriculture. We have the soil quality. We talk about the physical, chemical, biological quality is the soil health, and contribute to the environmental quality, the water, air, and soil quality, and also continue to contribute to the agricultural sustainability, the economical sustainable, environmental quality, and the socially viable. So we have the fertilizer and supposed to be work for the increased yield. Economically, it's good for the farmers. And also we are doing the environmentally friendly and socially viable. We don't want to generate the problem for the communities. It come to the end of this module. I thank you. And if you have any questions, you can please raise now. And also, I put my contact here, so even after this the talk, if you still have the question anytime, you can reach me. And also, we may need let me put like 10 minutes a break time, also the question time, so we can start the next module in the a quarter after 10. How about this way? In module 5, we are talking about the soil testing and interpreting the result. And we are going to cover the soil testing and the soil test report, the soil pH and the limestone requirements, the soil organic matter and the CEC, a nutrient test value and the function of soil elements, the soil test ratings, and the nutrient requirement. We have a soil plant and feed laboratory located in the St. John's, the agriculture building. Some of you may know there's on the Brookfield Road. The lab number I put here, and also you may find it in the soil sampling guideline, or particularly the soil submission form, the lab contact information. Some close by can drop the sample here, and some may just use mail in. The address is on the soil submission form. In the lab, we have the ICP, and for the LICO, it measures the nitrogen and the carbon. All the other element we report, we use the ICP. The soil lab, we analyze the soil pH to get the limestone requirement, and phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium test values and the ratings, either low, medium, or high, and the required application of nitrogen, phosphate, and potash. And other elements include sulfur, aluminum, iron, manganese, copper, zinc, boron, and sodium. That's the routine our soil test report. We cover this the major element. Why the soil testing? Is to determine if your soil is in the ideal condition for your crop, the soil pH level, and the limestone requirement. If the soil pH is very low, you may need a bunch of limestone. If the soil pH is high enough, you don't need any limestone. The plant available nutrient and the nutrient recommendations is crop specific. Test your soil at least every 3 years to ensure recommendations are up to date. We put every 3 years, it's considered some farmers, they may use the perennial crop, the perennial, like either forage, mixed forage grass. And once you plant the seeding, could cover a couple of years. But for the soil fertility concern, and you still need to take the sample for every 3 years. But for the crop rotation, and we recommend you do the soil test every year because the rotation, this year you grow potato, and the next year you grow the cabbage and the carrot. We'll need the different, the pH level and also the nutrient input. The soil sampling is a critical component for soil fertility evaluation and for the nutrient management planning. I consider this is always emphasize the soil sampling. We do the right thing and we do things right. And it is critical because the soil sample, we take the soil sample, we want the sample truly represent the field you are considering. If in the field, if our soil is not representative for the particular field, the get result, it might be misleading. How to take a soil sample? We have the sample in the fall. That most of the farmers do the soil sampling in the fall. And you kind of after the harvest, you have a bit of time, and it's not the busy season. And also in the fall time, when get the soil test report come out, so you still have the time to prepare for the next year. Either your soil need all the limestone, or your soil you have the low fertility, you need the fertilizer, you can contact the fertilizer dealers. That give you the bunch of time to prepare for the next year. In the field, you can work the W pattern and take 5 to 10 individual sample to a depth of 6 inch. What we put a general 6 inch, that's most of our crop root located. But it's for the for the sod farmers, they may only need to go to the depth of 3 inch because there's at the sod, the root mainly concentrate on the top, very top layers, and put this. What you take the sample in the bucket and thoroughly break apart any chunks, and label the sample bag with field number, date, crop history, farm name, etc. The soil sampling tools, shovel, and the soil sampling, use if particularly for the research plot, they use the auger. Take the sample. You can go to the deeper, and it might be need the different layers. And the spade, the home gardener like myself, and a shovel, spade, that's most common tools, the shovel we use. And also there's less commonly, still you may encounter there's the rectangle shovel. So the shovel is the ideal for the soil sampling, basically. And this picture was taken in the Wooddale Tree Nursery. I was visited there, and in the summertime, I went to the general office on the wall there to put a couple of shovels, nice, beautiful shovel. I said, yes, this shovel would be great for my soil sampling. You see the rectangle shovel, the rectangle shovels? And this is for their tree nursery, like they plant 1 million trees, you get a shovel, and you put 5 million trees, plant, then you get a bigger shovel. And this award put on the wall. And basically, agriculture for the crop, we need the shovel, and the tree as well, they need the shovel. Let's take the sample. What we want the soil sample at a slice. This is the sample we want to take. So most likely, and very common too, is the shovel, the spade. When we get the sample, so use this shovel, we get on the top, very top surface, get the most sample. But in the deeper, 10 or 15 centimeters deeper, the less sample. But we want the sample truly, not only truly represent surface of the field, also the profile of the field. So you can get rid of the both sides, get a slice. So this slice would represent your soil fertility, not only on the very top couple of centimeters, and also proportionally, and also represent the deeper layers. And you put it in the bucket. Let's see from the field to pail to the lab. Like consider this a piece of land. We take like the 10 to 15 spot. And each spot we take the sample like this, a slice, put in the pail and mix well. Really mix well. If there's any chunk, please break it. And mix well, break the chunk, and then from the pail, take around 1 pound of soil. That's the soil sampling bag. That's the paper bag. You can put in the bag and to go to the, oops. And in the lab, once like the lab normally need around 1 pound of soil, mineral soil. It is organic. You may take around 1 liter in the plastic bag, that's fine. And when you send it to the lab will dry ground, and in the lab, take another subsample. It's only 2 ml. The sample go to the extractive system, go to the machinery. So consider 1 hectare land, 15 centimeters deep, you are looking at around 2 million kilo by weight. So from the 2 million kilo, in the lab analysis, go to the instrument only around 2 grams. So really have to get the representative sample. If you just take sample from the corner, analyze the result only represents this corner fertility, won't be applied for the whole field. The sample submission, you can go to the online Google, just put the soil sample submission Newfoundland will come up and show to have the lab address, the form you fill, and you pick up the standard field soil. And all the home gardeners, they can take the soil for non-farmers. Basically, you get a different analysis, what's the element. But normally the routine analysis will cover the around the 11 element. There's a soil sample test report. I put here, it's hard to say it, particularly like if so much information, but we will go through section by section to get what each section is required, what's the meaning. Now, what is in the soil test report? You have the client, the sample, and the field information. This information, by the mean, we have to mention it is confidential. It's for our clients solely, and so just like let you know, like this is the information we collect is only for our soil analysis and the report. Get the contact, get the result out to you. The soil test result and interpretation rating for the nutrient levels and the recommendations for the limestone and the nutrient application requirement. For soil test report, the first section on the far left side, I highlight here and enlarge here so we can have the better to say it. The lab number is assigned by the lab, and the field ID would be our client, our producer put my field ID is 64 or my field ID is Billy Kelly. So the field ID is we copied from you, and the lab assigned the lab number. There's the UTM. This is the what's the GIS? Someone would be familiar with this one. So we were a couple of years ago when have the farm mapping as a service. We encourage the producers when you submit a sample, if you can put the UTM, the information. Basically, this UTM zone 21 is for the island Newfoundland on the map. The north is the 7 digits, and the east west is 6 digits. So that's the number basically in meters tell us. So your sample field is from the UTM zone 21. The north is 7 number of meters, in the east or the west is 6 meters. So this tell you exactly the field, the location. The way it's for your record, for your particular, like if you have the sample like the 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or every 3 years, so then you can organize, put it together. So this the field history, the fertility change, the soil sampling done or not done. And although not many producers use it, but the option is there. If you want, you can certainly put there. So just for your record. Again, so that's the sample information, include your submission form. That's confidential. We're not. This one is just keep for the lab to use, and is convenient for you to track the record. It's not for any other use. The field size, you put the 1 hectare, 2 hectare. So this one is when the sample result, test result come out, the fertilizer recommendation or the limestone is based on the unit, it's based on the hectares. And if your field have 2 hectares, you will need double the amount. In the middle part, the soil test report is soil pH. LR is the limestone recommendations. Is tons per hectare. The soil test values and the ratings. The test value is coming from the lab. I showed the previous the instrument. We have the ICP or the DECO. The analysis result. The number we'll put here, PK, calcium, magnesium. This is the unit is talking about the element, either pure P or pure K, calcium, magnesium, in the ppms. The ratings in this case is low minus, which is very low, and basically this field is very low nutrient. The organic matter is 3.3, no surprise. Normally you have the low soil fertility, you have the low organic matter as well. The soil pH in the test report is a measure of the acidity alkalinity. The pH of 7 is neutral. The greater than 7 is basic, and the less than 7 is considered the acidic soil. A soil in Newfoundland is naturally acidic, pH range around 4.5 to 6. Every crop type has a required optimal pH that varies from 5 to 6.5. Like if you are planting if you have the crop like the cranberry, you're looking at the pH around 5. Potato 5.5. Most of the other crops like cabbage, carrot, the ideal pH is 6.5. The soil test values, organic matter is an important soil health indicator, as it contributes to the biological, chemical, and physical property of the soil. Like we have mentioned, the soil organic matter, along with soil pH, is the 2 master parameters to evaluate your soil health. And also in the soil test report, we have phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium. So these values tell you the content of these nutrients currently in your soil available for the crop. The soil test ratings, totally we have the 10 levels of ratings based on nutrient levels. The L minus LL plus, that represents the low level, either the very low, low, or low plus. And M is for the medium level, either M minus, M or M plus. And the high level, again, is at the high minus, high or high plus. And E is for the excessive. That means the nutrient level is at the excessive level, it's at the very, very high level. So at the medium soil test levels, if in the soil test report shows marked as M, the crop will respond when additional nutrients are applied. So that means in the soil, we have the M level. So your soil generally is good, but if you grow the crop, because the crop will take the nutrients, will absorb the nutrients. So you still need to put additional fertilizer, additional nutrient to supply the crop, because the crop will remove the nutrient from the soil. That's the concept. Like in the soil fertility, they use fertilizer soil or fertilize the crop. So basically, for the economic point, we fertilize the crop. Basically, normally if the crop will remove 100, just pick a number. So we try to supply the 100 number. So some maybe use fertilizer soil, they give the more nutrients than the crop required. So year after year, basically, you will get your soil more and more fertile, which is good, but they're at a cost. The required application, the nitrogen, phosphate, potash. Here, we use the word, the nitrogen, phosphate. For the phosphate, is basically the crop absorbs the nutrient, absorbs the P in the phosphate form. So either the PO4 minus or HPO4 or H2PO4. So it's considered as a phosphate. That's the form crop basically absorbed. But to quantify and to get the compare, particularly for the fertilizer calculations, we all calculate back to the P2O5. So then we can get exactly the number. Although the and pick up is in the phosphate form. So that's the kind of a confusion. It's the phosphate, but the P2O5 is represents the calculation. Same thing like the potash. Potash like the pot. Underneath the pot is ash. Basically, it's the potassium plus. That's the form the plant take up. But we quantify in the nutrient recommendation and also calculate the fertilizer requirement. We use the K2O, the oxidized form. So then can compare the universally all the fertilizers in the market is regulation required. They will give you the N, P2O5, K2O. So it's not the pure P would be converted to the P2O5 like I think it was if the P number is 100, converts P2O5 will be 229. That's a calculation for the fertilizer. But here I just want to clarify, by no means the crop takes the P2O5 form. It's oxidized form is not the crop can pick up. The CEC is cation exchange capacity. So this is the measure for how good the soil can hold the nutrients. The required application section, We have the nitrogen, phosphate, potash again here. So use this word is for the crop pickup form. But exactly the calculation, we go back to P2O5 or the K2O are based on crop requirement for this nutrient and on the different soil ratings. So they are the integral components for plant establishment and growth. The cation exchange capacity, the CEC, is the capacity of soil to hold nutrients. Then the low organic matter, you have the lower CEC. If the soil is a clay, high organic matter, you have the higher CEC. Illustrate in the chart, if we have the CEC 25 for the higher CEC, compare with the CEC 5, the lower CEC, you will see like at the lower CEC is the sandy loam particle, you have the clay particles at the higher CEC, and also the organic matter, it could be higher. So the common range, the CEC range, the pure sand, you may just get close to 0 CEC. But if the heavy clay soil, you get the CEC around 50, which is higher CEC. The soil have the higher ability to hold the nutrients. Those soil particle, the clay particle, by the way, the soil is naturally negatively charged. So the negatively charged soil particle, so they take the cations and kind of hold the cations around them. So that's called the cation exchange capacity. But basically, the soil can hold the nutrient with the soil to supply for the plant instead of if the pure sand. So you cannot hold much of the nutrient. You put the fertilizer in the sand, and the rainfall will right away quickly to bring the go to the waterways. The nitrogen is stimulates the root growth and the development, the uptake of other nutrients, and the plant productivity. The nitrogen for the corn, there's a picture shows the nitrogen deficiency. It shows in the lower the old leaves. Because the nitrogen in the crop, the plant, have the ability to mobile the nitrogen from older leaves, go to the top younger leaves to meet the growth requirement. That's the plant ability. That's why if the nitrogen deficiency, it shows in the lower part. And it's a V shape. What the V shape? If we the plant stem consider like I stand as the plant, I open my arm from myself, I see is a V shape, the yellowing. That's the nitrogen deficiency. And for the these crop, these show the nitrogen deficiency is on the edge yellowing. For the let's see was the alfalfa. The phosphorus stimulates root formation and growth, and encourage flower development, pollination, and seed formation. Phosphorus deficiency is show the color is purple, and also the phosphorus is showed in the lower and old leaves. Because the same thing like the nitrogen, the plant has the ability to mobile the phosphorus from the old leaves to meet the young top, like the growing spot, the requirement. That's the turnip, the leaves show the color is purple in the old leaves. The potassium, it increase the plant vigor and resistance to certain disease, enhance the quality of fruit and vegetables by improving flavor and color. The potassium here, when the potassium deficiency is showed for the corn, is also in the old or lower leaves. And the different is this we call the reverse V shape. If like as I stand here, I open my arm, I see the yellowing is reversed V shape. That's the potassium deficiency. It's opposite for compared to the nitrogen deficiency. This is shows the yellowing bleach part on these leaves for the potassium deficiency. In the soil test report, we have the nutrient recommendation and the comments. So in this case, the comment is apply half the required nitrogen pre-plant and the remainder at the crop's rapid growth phase. So the nitrogen, if you can, so split the application, the nitrogen, considering that we want to keep the nitrogen in the field for the crop. So if just one single application, a large amount, so until the crop fully develops the required nitrogen, the nitrogen could leach out to the water system. For the phosphate requirement are based on the broadcast. The banding can be used with substrate reduction in phosphate requirements. Basically, if we broadcast the phosphates, you need the higher amount, but if you band to the crop, like the crop roll, you saved some of the fertilizer, so you can reduce the requirement. So apply the required potash pre-plant, but if your crop is grows under the fertigation, you can put half pre-plant and the remainder through the fertigation system, basically fertilizer plus water called fertigation. And the other tests here, like some research client may need the nitrogen carbon, but most commonly we report as the routine report, we report sulfur, zinc, copper, sodium, and iron, boron, magnesium, aluminum as well. The other test for this is the element list in the other test box. This picture I show here, that's for the sulfur deficiency. The sulfur deficiency is for the corn. It showed on the top younger leaves. It's different from the nitrogen. So remember, the nitrogen showed in the lower and old leaves, but the sulfur deficiency showed on the top young leaves because the plant, it cannot move the sulfur from the old leaves to the young leaves to meet the requirement. It's not like the nitrogen. That's why the deficiency signs shows on the top and the young leaves. Like for the wheat field, the sulfur deficiency, you see the bleached yellowing is on the top on the young leaves. That's the opposite to the nitrogen. So we close this module. I thank you for your attention. Again, so if you have any questions, please raise here. And if you still, even after the talk, have some anytime so fertility related question, you can always reach out. I put the contact here. So I thank you very much. Last we have the you can, if you don't have the question, you can stretch up, have a break, and we come back come back 11 o'clock. So we have little break and also it's for the question time. Thank you very much. Next one, we talk about the module 6, the on-farm nutrient management. The outline, we will cover what's the nutrient management, what is on-farm nutrient management, and why is the on-farm nutrient management important, and the components of on-farm nutrient management, and for the nutrient management plan, and the plan ahead. And also we will have some examples. It's some components, some across the province and the situations. The on-farm nutrient management is managing the nutrient biosolid, and other organic materials, including seeding, storage, handling, anaerobic digestion, and more. It manages the amount, form, placement, and timing of the application of manure, commercial fertilizers, or other forms of plant nutrients. The goal is to enhance environmental quality and agricultural sustainability by avoiding over-manuring. So let me put the simply way. When we talk about the soil fertility, the major goal is to increase the soil nutrients, to increase the soil fertility, and to meet the crop requirement to enhance the nutrient availability to the crop. Then later on, so the soil fertility concept is 100 years, is 100 years in the agricultural industry. But over the last around 30 years, 35 years, so we came up with the nutrient management concept. Because the soil fertility, when we increase the nutrient, particularly over the last 3 decades, when the animal farms getting bigger and bigger, when people from eating the greens, corns, the plant, and trans to like the more protein, the animal milk, meat. So the large animal farms generate a much more nutrients, and it is the saturate the small piece of area and generate some net, like the negative impact for the environment. So then we have the concept of the nutrient management. Basically, the managing the nutrient is not overly, like the increase the nutrient, not overly manuring. So why the nutrient management important? We can group it's good for soil quality, the physical, chemical, biological, and it's good for the environmental health. We talk about air, water, and soil, and is good for the agricultural sustainability, for the economic, for the social, for the environment, and that's why that's all about the nutrient management. So the proper nutrient management will offer the best yield potential while minimizing the cost and environmental impact. The nutrient management is satisfy the crop nutrient requirement, but also minimize the risk of environmental damage, the best use of manure and other organic materials, and reduce the nutrient pollution. So this the picture shows on the left side, it's for the crop farm. We have the fertilizer to meet the crop requirement, and the crop through the harvest the grains and get the result, basically what we grow the crop to get the yield for the crop, and also the fertilizer to put to the cropland is not 100. You will never be able to get the fertilizer efficiency gets to 100%. So the utilization rate, if you are good, like you have the beneficial or best management practice, you may get the fertilizer efficiency around 70-80%, but still have a portion lost to the environment. And some might, if you don't care much, so that could be like basically 0.5% of the fertilizer or the nutrients could leach to the environment and never get to the crop. And on the right side, this picture shows the animal farm. The animal farm, we have still need a bit of fertilizer for the cropland to kind of like even we have a manure from the cow from the animals. And the manure can spread to the land, provide the nutrient, but still, because the nutrient balance is not the right ratio for the crop, we still need to supplement the fertilizer. And in this case, is a circle. And we have to feed the animal needs the feed. Some they purchase the feed, or some they grow the like the silage or the forage production in the big farm. So either they grow by themselves or they purchase the feed and feed the cow, and the cow produce the milk and the meat, and the manure go back to the land. Is the cycle, is the ecosystem cycle. Still, you have some kind of the nutrient, all the manure, like the leach to the environment, have to pay attention. So our goal is to get the best yield, but still minimize the environmental impact. The components of a nutrient management plan include the farm description, where my farm is located, how big my farm, and the farm maps and the field size, the soil testing and limestone requirement, manure testing, crop rotation, the manure application time, rate, and the incorporation method, the supplemental fertilizers, and the record keeping plan review. So that's the component. And basically, if we want to get a good nutrient management plan, so this, the pond is as a common component to be included. And the farm description, after where it's located, the total animal numbers. So we have if you have the dairy farm, or the beef farm, or the pig farm, the animal, how many numbers you have. I have 100 cow, or I have the 200 cow. So the manure amount, that's generate like like for the dairy guys, they may have the volume in the manure pit, liquid, and some is like the beef farm, they may have the pile. You can estimate as tonnage. So either in the tons, or either in the liters, or the volume, the total hectareage, acreage. So the total in my farm have 100 acre, or have 200 acre. So roughly the idea here, the description we need, this information is how many animals, how big my farm can take the nutrients, can take the manure, and we want to make sure not overly manuring. So this basically is the bulk checking, and I know like how big the land I will require for this kind of size of the animal farm. And also the nearby water body, waterways, is my farm land is close to the river and also close to the pond. So this picture I took from our lunch room. In our lunch room, this one, if you in the owner corner, it's not clear, but it's G. Saunders 63. So this it can, it's a beautiful art, and also tell us, review us, it's kind of the farmland. Like if your farm have the slope, you really need the like for the tillage, contouring tillage, not follow the slope up down. So you have the erosion, like the problem, and also the animal, like the grass, the river, something like that's the like basically visualize what's basically what my farm have, like in my mind in the picture. The GPS, that's one for the farm map, the field location. And we last one module, we talk about sample submission form, and we have the option, you can put the location, although most of the clients, they don't use it for whatever reason. So, but if you have the GPS unit, you can collect the point and put the location. So you know this field, I did the sampling this year. So even after several years later, I same spot, same field, take sample, so I can compare the result. I know it's from the same field, the location. And the GPS unit could cost like the $3,500. But now the smartphones, that's the picture, the smartphone, and also why I have the quite capable to provide you the XY, the location. But you do need the data service or in the area, the signal cellular receiver to cover it. But for the remote area, so the GPS can give you the GPS point. But by the way, I have compared, I was in the field at the same spot. I use the GPS, get the point, and also use the cellular phone. It's basically it's the same result. So now the smartphone is quite very capable to actually record the location is same like the GPS you spend several $1,000. The technology used for nutrient management. This picture shows now in the multi-technology, you have the satellite. It's always satellite in the sky, and particularly here in Canada, North America. Like I have a visitor, and they were mentioned like here, like when you open your GPS, you can show the 8, 12 bars active. So you can basically your GPS unit, if they can collect the 12 satellite, the information, it all shows quite basically give you the result, can get your point and accurately. So that's the satellite give you location. So like this is the tractor, you have the GPS-based sampling for soil test. Basically, you have the GPS mount in your truck, and when you take the sample, the spot, and also record the location, each spot, because in this field, we consider this high area, low area, medium area. So the GPS spot tell you where your spot, your sample is from. Is it from the highland, or it could be the lower soil fertility, or is from the lower land, could have the higher nutrient level. And the variable rate fertilizer applicator. So this one is once you have the soil sampling, soil test done, you get the result put into your computer, and you bring this one to connect to your fertilizer applicator. So when you fertilize the field, you drive across the field, so it will adjust the application rate if it go to the higher, lower nitrogen area. So your fertilizer applicator will automatically to open wider and apply the more nitrogen. Instead of phosphorus, if you go to the higher nutrient area, automatically fertilizer rate will be lower for you. So that's the kind of really and help you, particularly in the large farm. And where I put my fertilizer, it's basically in the big field, some area only need less fertilizer, some will need higher. And the yield monitoring harvester, basically when you harvest, and also you can monitor like your field. Some area you get a high yield, like for example, so this area I got like the result is 20 tons per hectare unit. But when I moved another area, my field crop grows poorer. I only get less the yield. But this the yield monitoring all these kind of the data put together, and you piled in the house, you can pile into the GPS system, the overlay, like we have our was the GIS analyst. They can help. They can do you have the soil types, so taxonomy map, so test data, and the past manure use, the past yield record. So all these layers can overlay together to generate the result, the data set, so you can use for your nutrient management. That's a soil map, shows you the different field. Like in this case, it's just a number, from the number 1, 2, 3. So each field, how big the field, and if you have the GPS record, you know which field I have the higher fertility, or which field I have the low nutrient content of the field. So basically, there's visualize some. I have visited the farm, and they have the nice farm picture, like the map is put on the wall. Like if we were go there, they mentioned that this is my good land, this is the area is the rough land. So it shows on the map instead of I almost like some good farmers, they have the good memory in their mind, but how to communicate with other guys for the nutrient management point of view is better visualized, put on the wall. And in the nutrient management, soil pH and the limestone requirement. So in this case, I have the field number 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have the field size. The soil pH test come from the lab. And the limestone requirement recommendation is also in the soil test report, and the limestone required. So each field totally how many tons I require the limestone. So this is a part of the nutrient management, and phosphorus levels is a limiting factor for manuring, most likely. So because our big animal farm, they have the limited piece of land, so year after year they apply the manure, so the phosphorus level is quite high, because the crop takes the more nitrogen, but the supply of the manure and meet the nitrogen requirement and also over apply the phosphorus because the crop don't need that much of the phosphorus. So year after year, so the level most likely, and I have realized, and particularly from the big animal farms, their soil test report come out, so you can see the phosphorus level is quite high. So normally we put the P level, 66 ppm is medium, consider. But once the farm has the phosphorus level go to the 200, 300, that's really high. And the lab report will mark as excessive. That means you don't need to put any phosphorus fertilizer, and also limit you don't put the manure continue to get it increase. So here, also over the around 20, 25 years, and in the States, they have the joint research with the Quebec, and they raise the P aluminum ratio as the factor to consider the phosphorus, the manure application. Because if the result come out, the phosphorus level, for example, is at the 100 level. So for the crop, for the agricultural point of view, I don't need to put any phosphorus, so won't benefit my yield. But for the environmental concern, and they might still can spread the manure to the land because their land have the phosphorus aluminum ratio is different. If there's their soil has a very high level of aluminum. The aluminum can tie the phosphorus instead of going to the waterways. So even they have the phosphorus level, TET level around 100, but they may still apply the manure because the environmental threshold. So we use the PL aluminum ratio to basically give some more rooms to continue to use the manure. The fertilization, this is the fertilizing. So normally, like here, you might be hear about the triple 17, 12, 24, 24, some 6, 12, 12. There's the common blended fertilizer ratios. But the manuring is nitrogen-based approach. So if a crop requires more nitrogen, I use the manure to meet the nitrogen requirement. So basically, I oversupply the phosphorus. So the soil test level could be as excessive, very high, and the soil P level is very high. The requirement application phosphate, like the translate as quantify as the P2O5 would be the 0. And the manure testing, that's the picture from our lab. For the manure compost test, we test the dry matter, pH, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, soluble salts. And the sampling, again, the critical component. Same thing like the soil sampling. The manure sampling is critical. If we get the sample truly represent what we want the result from. The manure sampling, the solid manure, you can take the sample from the 3 locations, from the surface of pile to the middle and to the core part. Basically, you can use auger, a Dutch auger, and go to the deeper to the pile. And also surrounding the pile, you can do the 5 times and surrounding the pile and thoroughly mix in the basket and take a subsamples from the composite and label with farm name, animal species, and date. For liquid, the dairy guys, dairy farm, so like normally we'll see the big manure pit, concrete, and they have the agitator. Some have maybe not only one, have the 2 agitator put into manure pit. So agitate basically mix well to get the sample like the representative truly for the pit, for the manure pit. Again, so you need to take a subsample label with farm name, animal species, and date. The sample submission form, same thing in the Google. If you put the sample submission form Newfoundland, you will come up. There's you can print out, or you go to the local office. You will be able to readily to get this one to mark what my test is for manure or is for compost. And also keep in mind here, I would remind people like you put your sample type, like is dairy or is chicken. So this one will later on will for the lab recommendations for the available nutrient calculation. And also the sample information, just keep in mind to put the land application method. So if it's on the manure and specify the soil incorporation, I'm going to spread the manure, incorporate in 1 day, or in 3 days, or in 5 days, because that incorporates the different time, so you will get the different available amount of the nutrient calculation. And also for the time of the application, so if in the early spring or the late summer or in the fall. So the different times, just simply put, considering the temperature, like it would be affect the nutrient availability. The sample report analysis result, this number came from our lab. So then we'll be able to calculate and the nutrient equivalency. So this calculation is based on the application time. So you are going to apply in the spring, or it's late fall or late summer, and the incorporation within 5 days or is within 1 day. So this factor will affect the available nutrient basically the nutrient equivalency calculation. Manure analysis. So that's the nitrogen normally around 1 to 6%, and around 50 to 75 is organic nitrogen in the manure. The quantity of the nitrogen manure, the varies depend on bedding material, manure handling, storage, application method, time, soil property, and intended crop as well. So the nutrient value roughly 1 hectare, if I use manure and can save my something $600 to purchase the fertilizer. The field nutrient balance, that's the nutrient management plan to do. And if this year I grow the grass forage and the nutrient requirement by the crop and the legume manure residues from the previous year and the manure recommendations, how much, and then the fertilizer to supplemental fertilizer, the rate, to then calculate the field, like the balance sheet. So the nitrogen, phosphate, and the potassium. So to meet the crop requirement, I have the credit from the previous year, the legume of the manure, and I have to put this much of manure come for how much the nutrients available, efficient, and then supplement fertilizer gave me the balance sheet and to calculate. For the manure recommendations, if I have the field number 1, 2, 3, 4, field the same size, and I'm going to grow the grass forage, and in this case, it's for the liquid manure and 1 hectare. So this field, I don't need to put anything because this one figure shows my phosphorus level is around 300. So way above the critical level. So I don't need to put any manure. So for some field, and I may need the 20,000, like or 60,000 liters, the different amount based on the field, like what's the field, the soil test report. Fertilizer recommendations, and you have the field number, you have field size, again, the rate and what kind of the fertilizer, the ratio, and give you each field can put together how many tons of fertilizer you could require. A record keeping, that's something you record the field ID. I know my nutrient management plan for specific field, this field, and the location GPS point. If you don't have the GPS unit, smartphone is fine. If you have the cellular, you have the data coverage area, sampling date, test report, and organic, inorganic material application time rate. So just put the detail, the record keeping, and farm progress tracking. That's the example, like for the provincial government, they have the certificate approval requirement for the waste management by the service in L. For the manure management, 50 animal unit or over 50 animal unit, you need the certificate of approval from service in L. The requirement, the third certificate may require that you have the manure pack, the liquid runoff control storage capacity, 6 months, normally in the winter time. Once it gets frozen in the November, over the winter time, you have the capacity to store your manure because you cannot put the spread manure in the frozen ground and the frozen snow covered ground and the transportation. That's a consideration. The storage handling, the manure nutrient storage facilities, there's certificate requirement. You have the 30 capacity to operate and protect the nearby water course from the contamination. The storage is liquid or solid storage. And many farms use the solid manure storage and how to transfer the manure from barn storage from the barn to the field. That's the farm have the manure. They have the cover, the dome, and also they have the concrete pad and have the concrete berm for the control in you get the water, too much rainfall and running everywhere. So that's liquid peat. So this kind of like the manure when it's open, like the rainfall, snowfall, and even from the chicken farm and the water, it kind of accumulate problem. But in this case, they have the wood structure is covered, so avoid the rainfall, the snow get into the pile. The land application. This is the spread. This is the injection system. So basically, liquid manure have the pipe and like the run along one and hook up with your spreader and basically inject to the field. The anaerobic digestive system, we have the big one in the West Coast, and the anaerobic digestion, basically the organic material in the opposite of the oxygen system that causes anaerobic to digest generates the biogas creation, which is the methane. That's the dome. This is a plastic dome, big one. When inside anaerobic digestion generates methane, the methane getting more and more methane gets the dome. The plastic, if there's less methane, the dome will be much lower, and more methane is getting bigger. And this methane they collect and to generate electricity. Basically, their electricity hook up to the grid, the Newfoundland grid, and you can sell to the Newfoundland grid. That's dairy. That's the like the dairy farm for the manure treatment system, and also you generate the electricity. The available nutrients, that's the nutrient management plan. When we apply the organic materials, we will have to consider the nutrient availability the first year, second year, 3 year, and the carryover. So the nutrient management plan we do want, when we do the composting, we do it in the right ways. If the composting is not like the properly done and could be have the a lot of wheat when spread the compost. Basically the potato farm, you can see the weed take over the potato farm. You don't want this one happen. The cranberry fertilization, that's another example. Like when we have the nutrient management plan, is we have to consider is the vegetation growth or generative growth. So for the fruit production. So if we put too much energy and the cranberry growth looks very good, it's vigor, but it grows the vegetation growth. Not much the fruit flower. So that's something nutrient management plan have to consider. This the broom used to spread the fertilizer for the cranberry farm. Yes, I thank you. They come to the end of the module. Again, so if you have questions, raise here, please. And also you can, anytime you can contact me. And if you have the further after the talks. I thank you very much for your attention.